Hi students. So our conversation this week is focusing on the different types of environments, and the discussion so far has been going very well. But I wanted to raise just a couple of points about environment that I thought were critical to understanding more about how we set up our environments for young children. So when we're discussing the physical environment, a few things to keep in mind. When you walk into somebody's house, what do you notice? One of the first things is you notice a formal entry or an entry at all, and somebody greeting you at the door. Somebody obviously had to open up the door. How is that greeting made? One of you actually wrote in the discussion board questions, how do we greet parents when they walk in the door? How do we make them feel wanted, integral, and special in our programs? And the physical environment actually has a lot to do with that because some classes will simply have an entry with cubbies, but some go the extra mile and have a parent board, have pictures of families all over the room, and invite parents to bring in artifacts from home in order to make that connection between home and school more visible. So that way, when children come in, when parents come in, they see that connection. The second thing is when I go and visit, I do a lot of consulting, and sometimes when I go visit other programs, I'll see that all of the furniture is pushed against the walls. In fact, I just went to one today, and the teacher explained that she had all of the furniture pushed against the walls because she needed to see all the children all the time. So I asked her, how do you live? What is your home like, whether it's an apartment or a house? Um, is your bathroom and your kitchen and your bedroom separated by a wall, or is it all pushed against one big open space and everybody sees everything happening everywhere? As humans, we like to compartmentalize. In fact, I often relate the story that when my sisters and I were young, we would often take the bed sheets from the linen closet and drape it over our beds and hide underneath and play games. I'm sure my parents knew where we were, but while we were hiding underneath that sheet, it felt like we had our own private space. Plants, pictures, all of those things that you use to decorate your own homes, those are some of the materials that you'd want in order to decorate your classroom spaces. And additionally, I've mentioned this in the writings of the course, but it's worth repeating here again. Don't fall into Lakeshore or catalog syndrome, meaning that just because it's in a catalog means that you have to decorate your rooms exactly as that catalog shows. If you look at some of the rugs that are for sale, for example, in some of those catalogs, some are appropriately placed in classrooms and sometimes make the rooms too busy, too cluttered, too busy. So I think that's enough on the physical space, just to give you a gist of it. The next item that we talk about is the temporal space. And that has to do with things like, oh, I've got to check my watch. What time is it? Oh, I see that it's getting to be almost lunchtime. Okay, let's clean up the room. Everybody put everything away. And the temporal space will often celebrate children who are working in the art area because we'll often take that work and say that even if you're done or you're not done, we can still hang it up and parents will be able to see where that is somewhere in the classroom. I've got some of my stuff hung up here. But what about children who work very difficult, do difficult tasks in the block area? I've seen children sometimes build things in the block area that I myself could never have built. How do we celebrate those successes in the classroom? How do we celebrate children who comforted a child who was crying, etc.? We have to figure out ways to document those things before cleanup time happens, and make sure that while we're dealing with time constraints, other classes have to share the yard, other classes need to use the bathrooms, etc., that we're taking into account that children don't really have a concept of time. They simply know what follows what. And being able to maintain an order in a school while still being able to celebrate and recognize, appreciate, and honor the fact that children sometimes need a few more minutes to complete a project or sometimes even just to start a project. And the last area that I just want to touch on is the interpersonal environment. And the interpersonal environment really has to do with how do you make sure that everybody in your classroom is celebrated. We often think only about the children. But if you think about this, how much time does a child really spend in school? From the time a child is 2 until they're 18 years old, what percentage of their life do they spend in school? Think about that answer for a second, and I'll give you some help. School usually runs maybe 6 or 8 hours a day, and so that would be 25 to 33% of their day, but not their life. Because you take out Saturdays and Sundays, you take out holidays, vacations, summer, take out sick days, and what you're really left with is less than 10%. Children spend less than 10% in your classrooms. And as a result of that, the most influential factor is the parents. And you have to be able to make a relationship with the parents before you ever make a relationship with the children. Because if we teach parents first, then we teach children best. So think about that as well as you're thinking about environments. How are you welcoming parents into your classrooms? How are you making them feel celebrated, appreciated? If you are a classroom that operates in English, how do you help parents who don't speak English? How do you help parents who are not Native American, native to the United States? What if somebody has holidays that are celebrated other than what you do in your school? How are people of race, religion, gender, single parents, divorced parents, grandparents, or other caregivers celebrated and welcomed into your school? When a nanny shows up, are they welcomed as much as the parents are? Because often the nannies are spending much more time with the children than the parents are. So as you're thinking about those three environments, the physical, the temporal, and the interpersonal, they might seem like three very separate and uniquely distinct environments, but really they're all related. And I want to just make sure that I've had an opportunity to connect with you and join with you in an interpersonal way so that even though our environment is virtual, that I have the opportunity to connect with you in a more interpersonal way. And again, welcome any of you that need to contact me to please do so, either by Skype, by email, by phone, or in person. You're all more than welcome to come visit me at my school. Bye.